right away. So first of all, rewind. 1997, I took the gi off. I never put the gi back on. I opened a gym in 1998, all no gi jiu-jitsu. I was the first one, in the United States to have a no gi jiu-jitsu gym that was an actual jiu-jitsu gym, not catch wrestling or submission fight or anything. So I do that. I never put the gi back on. I get banned from all the Brazilians for a while. And
what was the reason for that?
For which part? Me taking it off?
No, you getting banned.
Oh, because that's their selling point, right? You have to put the gi on to get good at jiu-jitsu. It's impossible to get good without it, is what they're going to tell you. So it's and it's
well, it's luta libre if it's no gi,
right?
And they don't want to admit that.
But I stayed very strongly into the jiu-jitsu principles as far as the technique and the drilling and the positions over submissions and all that stuff. I taught very strict so that it didn't stray away from that too much. And so then comes along Eddie, years and years and years later with the gi off, and Joe Rogan is there to build him up, right, and to blow him up and make him popular. And obviously the win as well over Hoyler, but even Joe made that even bigger for him, with being his friend and getting him the hookup at the UFC, doing the door interviews or something like right before they walked out and all those things. So he beats Hoyler. Stylistically, I'm a bad matchup for Eddie. Okay, the way I pass and the way I Kimura and the way I knee slice pass and everything, it's just a bad matchup stylistically for 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, period. And my guys, like when Gerald first left, they came back and did a tournament, and Russ Mira and my guys, Rami, a couple of the guys went against Scott Epstein and some of the guys from Eddie's that were his best guys. And they all beat him. They beat him pretty handily. And I was telling him exactly what to do, how to beat him. And Eddie kind of looked over at me like, how do you know? And then looked back. And so I didn't really change anything to beat it, but I've always had a knee up in combat base to pass where you can't put me in closed guard. And if you don't get in closed guard, they have a really hard time applying any of their rubber guard stuff. And so we were knee slice passing and chokes. Anyway, he draws with Hoyler, and I call Halleck immediately. And I was like, hey, set up a match with me and Eddie. I said, tell him, and this is where I probably went in too strong. I said, tell him if I don't tap him in the first 5 minutes of the match, he can keep whatever money you were going to pay me. And you can bill it as the guy who gets all the credit for the original Nogi guy and go against the guy who's actually the original Nogi guy. he took that to Eddie and comes back and says, yeah, Eddie's not competing anymore. He's done. And this was within a week after the match with him and Hoyler. And they came back and said no. And then my kids started beating a couple of kids. There were 10th Planet kids. And one of the dads posts this thing on Facebook with my face and Eddie's face and says, let's make this super fight happen. And I was like, fuck yeah, absolutely. And within 10 minutes, Eddie messaged him and said, take that down. And he took it down, and that was the end of it. And I believe that's probably why I've never been on Joe's podcast. Like, I really wanted to go on Joe's, and I would promise not to talk about Eddie. I'm sure that's why I've not been, not on it.
Well, it's not like you're saying anything bad.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.